Night had fallen thick over the forest, but it was not the night the animals knew. It came without wind, without the restless chorus of insects, without the soft calls of owls across the canopy. It was a night stripped bare of sound, heavy as a stone pressing down on every branch and leaf. The trees stood rigid, their crowns unmoving, their trunks tense as if listening. The air itself felt brittle, still, as though it had been drained of breath. Even the river that wound through the valley slowed, its rippling voice dulled into silence. And in the middle of that hush, a bear stood. Its coat was thick and dark, glinting faintly under the stars that hung above. Its breath steamed into the chill air, each exhale loud in the absence of all else. The bear shifted its weight, heavy paws pressing deep into the earth, but even the rustle of leaves seemed swallowed before it could spread. The great animal lifted its head, nostrils flaring, golden eyes sweeping the tree line. It could smell the stillness, taste it in the back of its throat, a silence that was not peace but warning. Every instinct it carried bristled, every scar along its hide seemed to remember something older than itself. Around it, the smaller creatures held their places. A fox crouched low in the undergrowth, ears flat, body tense. Deer stood frozen in the shadows, their legs quivering, their wide eyes fixed on the bear but not daring to flee. Even the owls, hidden high among the branches, kept their wings folded and their throats still. No predator moved. No prey bolted. The entire forest waited. The bear lowered its head, sniffed once at the unmoving air, then rose slowly onto its hind legs. Its body towered above the clearing, a mass of muscle and fur silhouetted against the star-filled sky. Its chest expanded, breath pulled deep, heavy and deliberate. And in that moment, the silence deepened further, as though the world itself leaned closer to hear. The bear opened its jaws wide, and the forest braced. The bear's chest swelled, muscles tightening beneath its heavy coat. Its jaws opened wide, and from deep within its body rose a sound that belonged to no other creature in the forest. The roar burst forth. It rolled like thunder, deep and tearing, shaking the very trunks of the trees. Leaves trembled on their branches. Birds that had been crouched in silence took wing, scattering into the dark. Deer staggered back a step, ears pinned, their legs quaking under the weight of the sound. The roar climbed higher, stretching long into the night, a river of fury and warning, echoing into the valley. It was a sound to split stillness, to drive back fear, to remind all living things of strength and place. And yet, the silence swallowed it. The roar did not carry as it should. It did not roll endlessly across the mountains. It faltered, shortened, consumed by the night that pressed down upon the world. The echoes died too soon, stifled as though the air itself had refused to let them live. The bear dropped back to all fours, its great paws striking the ground with dull weight. Its ears flicked, its head turned, listening for an answer that did not come. The forest remained mute. The river gave no reply. The sky itself offered nothing. The smaller animals trembled. A fox crept lower into the reeds, pressing its body to the soil. The deer shifted, stamping nervously, their eyes darting upward. Owls shuffled their talons on their branches, feathers ruffling, but their throats stayed closed. The roar should have woken the forest. Instead, it had proved the silence deeper than any sound could reach. The bear growled low in its throat, a sound rougher, more uncertain. Its golden eyes turned skyward, where the stars burned pale against the black. They shimmered faintly, flickering as if unsteady, like fireflies caught in a windless jar. The forest had not answered. But the heavens were beginning to dot, the bear's eyes fixed on the heavens. Above the black crowns of the trees, the stars shimmered uneasily. At first it was faint, a single quiver of light, as if a thin cloud had brushed across the sky. But there were no clouds. The night was bare, sharp, and still. Then the flicker came again. The stars dimmed all at once, their glow thinning, paling, before flaring back stronger than before. The effect rippled across the sky like a heartbeat, an unsteady pulse. Some brightened, some faltered, and the constellations seemed to bend and shift in ways that defied memory. The animals saw it too. Deer raised their heads in unison, ears stiff, eyes wide, every body frozen mid-breath. Owls turned upward, their wide eyes reflecting the wavering sky, wings half open but motionless. Snakes lifted their heads from the mud, their forked tongues tasting the air as if it too had changed. Even the fox in the reeds crept out, its amber eyes glowing faint in the dark, staring skyward with a whine caught in its throat. The silence pressed harder, thicker, as though waiting for something to break. The bear growled low, the sound rumbling in its chest but not carrying far, absorbed by the air as before. Its ears flicked, its breath came in sharp clouds, its gaze never leaving the stars. And then, a single star trembled brighter than the rest. It pulsed, strained, as though tearing against the firmament that held it. The bear shifted, its great shoulders rolling, claws sinking into the soil. The other animals shrank back, pressing into shadow, though their eyes never left the heavens. The forest no longer cared for itself. Predator and prey, feather and scale, all were bound together in the same waiting. The stars flickered once more, and the great light tore free. It fell, streaking silently, a pale wound across the night. The heavens tore. The star ripped itself free from the sky, breaking loose with no sound, no thunder, no trail of fire. It fell as a pale streak, a wound of light drawn against the black. The line cut downward, faster and faster, until it vanished beyond the ridge, swallowed whole by the horizon. The forest held its breath. No wind stirred. No branch creaked. The silence thickened, so complete that even the smallest movements of life seemed lost, the flutter of an insect wing, the shift of a mouse in the grass, the faint ripple of the river's skin. All were absent. It was as though the world had paused, waiting for the earth to speak in reply. But no reply came. The bear stood rooted in place, its massive body rigid, its eyes burning with a strange reflection. Its ears swiveled, straining for sound, an impact, an echo, a tremor through the soil. Yet there was nothing. The star had vanished as if it had never been. And still, the animals watched. Deer stood frozen, their legs trembling but unmoving, their breath sharp in their chests. Owls stared unblinking, their talons clenched into bark that threatened to split beneath them. The fox slunk forward a single step, only to halt again, eyes wide, fur bristling. Even the snakes lay motionless, their coils tight, their heads raised in uneasy stillness. The sky above was changed. A gap yawned where once the star had been, a hollow darkness deeper than the rest of the night. The constellations around it wavered, their light uncertain, as if mourning the absence of one of their own. The bear lowered its head slowly, its heavy body shifting back onto all fours. Its breath steamed into the air, curling and vanishing as quickly as it came. It did not roar again. It did not move toward the ridge. It only stared into the distance where the star had fallen, a low growl building in its chest, not of anger but of knowing. The world had changed. The forest knew it. The sky knew it. And somewhere beyond the ridge, the earth now held what the heavens had lost. The star was gone, swallowed by the horizon. The gap it left above seemed wider than the sky itself, a hollow that weighed on the earth below. The silence lingered heavy, as though the forest had forgotten how to breathe. Then the creatures began to move. From the far edges of the marsh, wolves padded silently through the reeds, their eyes catching faint glimmers of starlight. They did not howl, did not stalk, they came as though pulled by something older than hunger. Their paws left no sound on the damp soil. Deer stepped out from the thickets, their necks arched, their ears trembling. They should have bolted at the scent of wolves, yet they stood shoulder to shoulder with them, their wide eyes fixed not on danger near, but on the ridge where the star had vanished. Boars emerged next, tusks flashing pale as they rooted the ground nervously, snorting low, their bodies restless. They circled, not with aggression, but with unease, as though they too were answering a summons they did not understand. Owls abandoned their high perches, sweeping low through the branches to settle in the clearing, their wings folding tight, their faces turned upward. Even foxes crept forward, their tails low, their amber eyes glowing faint in the dark. Snakes slithered across roots and stones, coiling at the edges of the gathering, their tongues flicking the thick air. Predator and prey, feather and scale, claw and hoof, none fled, none attacked. The forest stood together, bound not by choice but by compulsion, drawn into the same circle of waiting. At the center of it all, the bear remained. Its body was still, its golden eyes burning with the reflection of a changed sky. The animals formed around it in silence, as though the great beast's roar had carried farther than sound, calling them here. The bear shifted its weight, claws sinking into the soil, and the circle of beasts trembled with it. None dared approach too close, but none turned away. All eyes were fixed on the ridge, on the place where the star had fallen without sound. The forest had gathered. It had witnessed. And now it waited, as though something more was yet to come. The circle of beasts held its ground. The wolves lay low, their yellow eyes glowing faint in the dark. Deer stood stiff-legged, their sides shuddering with shallow breaths. Boars rooted nervously but did not break from the ring. Owls clung to branches above, their heads turning in slow, silent arcs. Every creature watched, yet no one dared move. And still the night did not end. The stars wavered overhead, their glow weak and faltering. Where the fallen one had left its absence, the heavens seemed torn, a blackness deeper than the sky itself. The constellations bent strangely, their shapes no longer true, their light trembling as if about to fail. The forest was heavy with it. The ground hummed faintly, a low vibration felt in hooves and paws and claws. The trees leaned inward, their branches creaking though no wind stirred. The air grew thick, clinging to fur and feather, pressing into lungs with each breath. The silence was no longer absence but weight, a burden that dragged at every living body. The bear stood at the center. Its head was lifted, its gaze locked to the heavens. Golden eyes reflected the broken sky, unblinking, unwavering. It shifted once, shoulders rolling, and the circle of animals pressed closer together, as though the simple movement carried authority. Its breath came slow, deep, steady, grounding the hush that threatened to crush the forest entire. No dawn came. Hours stretched without measure. The animals lost their sense of time. Deer wavered on weak legs, yet did not kneel. Wolves lay their heads on the soil, eyes still fixed upward. Owls closed their wings tight but did not sleep. Even the restless foxes crouched low, their tails curled around them, waiting, always waiting. The night pressed harder, bending their instincts, bending their bodies. The silence had become a force of its own, something greater than hunger or fear. And still, the bear endured. It growled low, a sound deep enough to tremble through the soil, a reminder of strength in the suffocating dark. Its voice carried no echo, swallowed instantly, but the beasts heard it. They felt it. The forest had gathered. The sky had shifted. The night would not let go. And all waited for the world to decide whether to break, or to bend into something new. The night stretched until it felt endless, a weight that crushed the forest, a silence that gnawed at bone. Then, at last, the darkness shifted. It was not dawn that came. A pale glow spread slowly across the heavens, not from the horizon, but from above. The stars brightened, their flicker settling, their trembling stilled. Yet they did not return to what they had been. The constellations had broken. Shapes long known were scattered, bent into strange new forms. Some stars burned in places where none had ever been, while others were gone, their light erased forever. And in the gap where the fallen one had vanished, there was nothing, only a hollow absence, a wound that no other light could mend. The animals stirred. The deer lifted their heads, ears quivering. Wolves rose to their feet, pacing in restless arcs, uneasy but unwilling to leave. Owls spread their wings, drifting from branch to branch, their round eyes reflecting the altered sky. The foxes crept low to the ground, whining faintly. Even the snakes uncoiled, shifting uneasily, their scales whispering against root and stone. The bear remained at the center. Its golden eyes glowed in the dim light, reflecting the unfamiliar heavens. Its great body seemed heavier now, as if it bore the weight of what the forest had witnessed. It did not roar. It did not move. It only watched, its breath steady, anchoring the silence that lingered even as the sky remade itself above them. One by one, the creatures drifted away. The deer melted into the undergrowth. Wolves padded back into shadow. Owls swept into the trees, their wings whispering in the stillness. Boars grunted and rooted away, vanishing into reeds. The circle broke apart, predator and prey scattering back into their ancient roles. But none left unchanged. The forest would live on beneath a sky that was no longer familiar. The old constellations were gone, the old order broken. Something had been taken from the heavens and placed into the earth, and all who had gathered knew it. When the clearing was empty, the bear lowered itself onto its haunches. Its gaze remained fixed on the gap in the stars, unblinking, steady. The silence endured. The wind did not return. And though the night had ended, the forest would never again sleep beneath the same sky.